From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of mankind. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of mankind. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known.
So here we are, and thank you all for attending this teaching today. We are in process of going over the situation with Donald Trump, and now moving into the situation with Elon Musk. Yeah, both are the Antichrist. Yeah, the Antichrist is a large fellowship of demonic influences at this time. At the time of the coming of Christ is a time of the amping up of Antichrist. Yeah, so these false prophets, these people who are the head of cults, like we always knew, Donald Trump was very much the head of a cult, and that's why he became president. And Elon is the head of a cult, and that's why he is in DOGE and is the richest man on earth. So they say. He's not anymore, but that's what the cult process follows. Is both cases is money. Yeah. So I'm going to cover a good bit of this process called Elon Musk, and it's been a many generation process, many incarnation process. Yeah, and one of the processes that is involved with Elon Musk is his process of the desire to destroy the planet. So his ability to carry out what is known as the desire of the Nazi implement, the ability to make everybody afraid, everybody uncomfortable, everybody feeling that there could be out after me any minute. And immigration is the biggest thing when it comes to Nazis. Yeah, and the ability to control who rules the nations, not just one, but worldwide nations. Yeah, this is about a new world order. Yeah, and Elon Musk is very deeply involved in this new world order. So let me just show you a little bit about his process. So this is just a little something here.
In reality, it was something far more dangerous. It gave Musk unmatched influence over federal agencies, budget allocations, and regulatory frameworks. Musk had done it. He had embedded himself inside the government, not as an elected official, not as a public servant, but as a billionaire with unchecked power. And now, with control over one of the most powerful adversary roles in the federal government, Musk wasn't just influencing policy. He was writing it. He immediately targeted the agencies that had been thorns in his side. Under his influence, DOGE slashed funding for environmental protections, weakened labor laws, and pushed deregulation policies that directly benefited Tesla and SpaceX. He called it, quote-unquote, cutting government waste. Critics like Bernie Sanders have spoken against his employment, but Musk wasn't just changing policy. He was rewiring the political landscape itself. His platform, Twitter, now called X as y'all know, became a megaphone for far-right ideologies, conspiracy theories, and political propaganda. He reinstated banned extremists, pushed anti-regulation narratives, and used the algorithm to amplify voices that aligned with his agenda. This wasn't about free speech. It was about engineering the public discourse to serve his interest. He wasn't just running a social media platform. He was shaping what people saw, what they believed, and how they voted. And that was just the beginning. Musk's influence wasn't limited to the US. He started meddling in global politics, backing far-right movements in Europe, leveraging Starlink access as a geopolitical weapon, and aligning himself with authoritarian-leaning leaders who shared his disdain for government oversight.
I'm very excited for the AfD.
Tonight, growing criticism over a virtual appearance by Elon Musk. Musk beaming into a campaign event this weekend for Germany's far-right party known as the AfD. But it's this apparent reference to Nazi Germany's history that is drawing attention.
I think there's frankly, too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond that. Children should not be guilty of the sins of their parents.
His comments quick to receive backlash. The chair of Yad Vashem, Israel's memorial to Holocaust victims, calling it an insult to the victims of Nazism and a clear danger to the democratic future of Germany. The remarks coming less than a week after Musk posted a series of Nazi-related puns online in response to criticism over this gesture he made at an inauguration event, which some have interpreted as a Nazi salute.
But perhaps the most dangerous part of all this? The fact that Musk isn't finished. He's not satisfied with being a billionaire, a tech mogul, or even a kingmaker in politics. He wants more. And as long as he continues to accumulate power, unchecked, unchallenged, there is no telling how far he'll go. Elon Musk doesn't just want power. He wants total control. Not just over industries, not just over technology, but over governments, policy, and the way people think. And he's doing it in a way that is both subtle and dangerously effective. The question isn't whether Musk is using politics to advance his own interests. The real question is, how much damage has already been done? Elon.
But recently he's decided to take his political project global, backing far-right parties in many other countries and using his massive platform to attack anyone who doesn't share his views. Let's start with Germany. In December, Musk publicly endorsed the German Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, a far-right political party with deep ties to the neo-Nazi movement. Its founder and former leader, Alexander Golan, has said that Germany should be proud of its soldiers in the world wars and that people should no longer reproach Germans for World War II. Another prominent AfD leader openly plays with Nazi themes, shouting at meetings, "Everything for Germany," a Nazi stormtrooper slogan banned in Germany. As recently as 2023, AfD members participated in a secret meeting in Potsdam that included neo-Nazis, where they discussed a mass deportation plan for, quote, non-assimilated Germans.
Yep. That is our Elon. And Elon is very much a part of this process. He, along with his grandfather, his mother, everything is in a Nazi process. Let's take a look at his grandfather.
Have no connection to South Africa. They're born and grew up in Canada. And in the 1930s, the grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, he's head of the Canadian branch of a US movement called Technocracy Incorporated. And Technocracy Incorporated is essentially a movement to overthrow democratic government in the United States and have technocrats, but big businessmen in many ways, come in and run the country. Through the 1930s, it takes on increasingly fascist overtones. They start wearing grey uniforms, modelled on the Nazi brown and black shirts. And so when Canada declares war on Germany in 1939 alongside Britain, the movement is banned because it's clearly sympathetic to Hitler. Elon Musk's grandfather is arrested. They find documents sympathetic to the Nazis and other subversive documents inside his house, and he is sent to prison for a few months and then remains on essentially a subversion watch list for the rest of the war. Yeah, so he's basically regarded as a Nazi sympathizer, a fellow traveler.
Yeah, so The process of Elon's grandfather was that he was one of the main founders of a Nazi movement that gathered together, and they called it technocrats, technocracy. And during the Hitler period, there was a man standing next to Hitler, just like Elon Musk is standing next to Trump. This man standing next to Hitler, his name is Eichmann. Eichmann is one of the best known people by Jews, for being a Nazi and being caught, and I believe he was shot in a tribunal. So let's take a look at the grandfather.
That he's a technocrat. So what is a technocrat? And it's somebody who's hired for their expertise, their technical expertise in something, which could be just plain management. It could be some technical aspect of making things happen.
And if you remember, Elon Musk, in his job title, he titles himself King of Technocracy. The Technocracy King. That's his title in Tesla, his title. And so now we see him in DOGE. And what is a technocrat? A technocrat is a person who's an engineer or scientist who believes that they're a genius. And because of that genius and that high state of mind, they should be put in position of making decisions for the government, just like DOGE, or just like Eichmann did for Hitler.
Of course, Eichmann, his technical expertise was getting populations from one place to another with these trains, managing the people that help force the emigration or force the evacuation in his case. And technocrats are essentially unelected bureaucrats, where they can exist inside corporations.
Now, where have we heard that before? President Elon Musk, is an unelected bureaucrat. We hear it all the time, and it upsets everybody because we're not Nazis. We're not technocrats. We're not involved in Elon's worldview.
They can exist inside not-for-profits. They, of course, can exist within the government. But oftentimes, they're making some decision that does affect larger ranges of people. Like, it's a collective decision that affects people collectively. But it's made from the standpoint of this cog inside a bigger machine. And the cog in the machine analogy, it's one of the big themes of the book that I
have no connection to South Africa. They're born and grow up in Canada. And in the 1930s, the grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, he's head of the Canadian branch of a US movement called Technocracy Incorporated. And Technocracy Incorporated is essentially a movement to overthrow democratic government in the United States.
So think about that. Technocracy's movement is to overthrow the government of the United States. And how do they do that? Well, they go out and claim Greenland as part of the United States. And they also go out and claim Canada as one of the states of the United States. This all happened back in the 40s with Elon Musk's grandfather. Now Elon is trying to do the same thing. He's got Trump out buying Greenland and out going to just militarily take over either Greenland or Canada. And definitely he wants both. And if he can get Mexico in there, he'd love it. But he thinks of them as poor people, doesn't want to bring them in to the fold of the great Nazi group. So keep an open mind, because this is reality. You need an open mind for reality.
And have technocrats, but big businessmen in many ways, come in and run the country. Through the 1930s, it takes on increasingly fascist overtones. They start wearing grey uniforms, modelled on the Nazi brown and black shirts. And so when Canada declares war on Germany in 1939 alongside Britain, the movement is banned because it's clearly sympathetic to Hitler. Elon Musk's grandfather is arrested. They find documents sympathetic to the Nazis and other subversive documents inside his house, and he is sent to prison for a few months and then remains on essentially a subversion watch list for the rest of the war. Yeah, so he's basically regarded as a Nazi sympathizer, a fellow traveler.
Something to think about, isn't it? Yeah. And now, in this day and age, in the company Tesla, the person who runs it is the king of technocracy. Technocracy. Which means he needs to rule America. He needs to rule it. And he needs to incorporate it. And then on top of it, they need to go to Mars as part of the technocracy reality, is going to Mars. Isn't that a trip? Yeah. So this isn't necessarily the one-man show. This is a new world order of the Antichrist. And we are in the very beginning stages of it externalizing.
But recently he's decided to take his political project global, backing far-right parties in many other countries and using his massive platform to attack anyone who doesn't share his views. Let's start with Germany. In December, Musk publicly endorsed the German Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, a far-right political party with deep ties to the neo-Nazi movement. Its founder and former leader, Alexander Golan, has said that Germany should be proud of its soldiers in the world wars and that people should no longer reproach Germans for World War II. Another prominent AfD leader openly plays with Nazi themes, shouting at meetings, "Everything for Germany," a Nazi stormtrooper slogan banned in Germany. As recently as 2023, AfD members participated in a secret meeting in Potsdam that included neo-Nazis, where they discussed a mass deportation plan for, quote, non-assimilated Germans.
Now, I am showing a lot of this back to back, over and over, so that you can understand just how much this is in the world today. Check this out.
About Elon Musk, to give you an idea of how sort of deep this goes with him, is that on his SEC filings for Tesla, he's not the CEO, he's not the CTO, he's the Techno King of Tesla. Literally, that's his title, according to the Security and Exchange Commission. And the reason for that is because, that's how he sees the world. That's how he sees himself, as this sort of benevolent dictator, as you said. There's a lot of these billionaires have latched onto called long-termism. It's also called effective altruism. And it's basically the idea that billionaires are so much smarter and more powerful and capable than everyone else that they should make these decisions for us. They're going to make the hard choices and let the citizens just take their medicine. And unfortunately, for the rest of us, one of those imperatives for Elon Musk is literally going to, he doesn't care who gets hurt on Earth in the process.
Do you think it's that simple, that this guy is driven by?
That is the point. He does not care. Yeah. So he makes these wild claims. He fires thousands of people, like from the veterans. Yeah. And these are people who are, need jobs. Yeah. And when they went in to be part of the military process, part of that is that you're told that you will be able to buy a house with very low mortgage rate. You will be able to go to college. Yeah, it'll pay for your college. Yeah. You will be able to have medical to Veterans Administration. And you would be taken care of after you put yourself up your whole entire life out for military use. I mean, it's not a little job. It's not a little thing. It's a very, 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 very big thing a person does when they commit to join the military. Imagine serving your country, signing a contract that says you'll put your life and limbs and well-being on the line, only to return home to uncertainty about whether or not the services and the support promised to you will still be there tomorrow. Now you got to remember, Elon Musk is a draft dodger. Yeah, he left South Africa because he was going to be drafted. And he left. So he went to Canada and got himself a Canadian passport, which is now where he has his Canadian passport. Yeah. And our president is a draft dodger. Yeah, he got a fake doctor to claim that he had bone spurs, making it hard for him to walk and do military things, Yeah, so he avoided, both of them avoided it. And because why? They're the richest people around. They don't have to do that sort of thing. They have maids and servants. That's their life. They are taken to school in Rolls Royces. That's their life. They're not going to be in this picture you're looking at, where you have a weapon in your hand and you've been shot in the leg and you're helping another person get out of the field of fire. I was a hospital corpsman. I am both in the Navy and the Marines. I was not a draft dodger. I did what was necessary during the time of draft during the Vietnam War. But at the same time, I'm a conscious objector. But I allowed myself to go into the military. I allowed myself to serve. Because I am a patriot, and I will not, lie and go through the process like Elon or Trump in order to avoid being in the military, because I simply can't identify with them. They're losers, like Trump says. Who would possibly join the military and know that they're going to get shot at? Why would you ever do such a thing? It's so stupid. You're such a loser. That is what our president said. So when it comes down to whether or not DOGE goes in and fires thousands of these people, and does he have a heart? Does he have empathy? Is there anything in his life that helps him to relate to these people? Not a thing. How about the people who are homeless? How about elderly people who are living off of $600 a month? No, he doesn't mind. They can live without it. In his mind, he's never experienced a day without money, ever. He's always had, maids and servants and, people who iron his clothes, people who cook his food. All of that is done for him. So he he is without a doubt, he is a racist, Nazi creep that, you know, we cannot and should not identify with in any way, shape, or form. You need to recognize this guy. You need to recognize Donald Trump for what he really is. He's a lowlife who rapes women, who grabs them, kisses them without them having any rights whatsoever. No, they lose their rights because he's famous. They want it. Yeah, his will over them, that's it. Yeah, and he expects it, so he just does it. And they're in shock. They're pushed up against the wall of an elevator, being fondled by a stranger. And in his mind, he's not a stranger. He's super famous, most famous man in the world. Yep, that's our president. And that's Elon Musk, too. Yeah, and these two people are corrupting the United States and the whole world. They have people in Greenland. They have people in Canada. People in Canada can't even go on a vacation in America anymore. And they loved it. People in America can't have a motorhome or a van and go camping anymore. Why? Because Elon Musk doesn't do that. He's got servants. He'd never think of going camping. Yeah, you know, so you don't need it either. So he sells the forestry where our parks are at. He sells them. He fires everybody who works for the forestry. A beautiful job, you know, a beautiful job. And that job isn't for the money. These people who go into the government and are employed in the government, they're taking less money. They're choosing service and sacrifice rather than rich fame and fortune. Instead, they're going to work for the unemployment office. Instead, they're going to work for this government office, you know, and get paid a whole lot less than any other thing that they would have gotten if they'd been in the main employment opportunities. But they're not. They chose service. Service to America, service to our country. Whether it be in the military or working for the unemployment office or working for veterans admin, all these things are service. It's not about money. You know, Elon, he's so corrupt, he thinks everybody's corrupt. He thinks that the unemployment service, you know, is paying people who claim to be 150 years old. Yep, he's doing that. He's out there telling everybody, oh yeah, I'm saving you billions and trillions of dollars from fraud, 150-year-old people. I'm saving you, he says. I'm saving you from scientists who are trying to cure cancer.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of my constituents have been illegally fired by Elon Musk and by Donald Trump. One of them was with me last night, Dr. Lauren McGee, who is an NIH pediatric cancer specialist who is heading up a team looking into osteosarcoma, bone cancer for children. She got fired on February 14th because she was a probationary employee. Probationary not because she'd done anything wrong, but because she'd been promoted into the new job. And she was with me last night, and she had to sit here and listen along with me, and I'd spent the day with her, to Donald Trump saying one of their top priorities is to fight childhood cancer, and she got sacked on
Trump is trying to destroy our once protected public lands, and even his own voters don't support it. His effort to put profits first could impact the millions of us who visit our national parks and ruin entire forest ecosystems and natural public spaces. He signed an executive order directing federal agencies to find ways to bypass endangered species protections and other environmental regulations, so they can bulldoze through 280 million acres of our national forests and other public lands for timber production. Conservation groups warn it would increase fire risk, pollute rivers, drive species to extinction, and destroy recreation sites. The Trump admin also laid off 1,000 national park employees like rangers, scientists, and other staff as a part of budget cuts. 700 others took Musk's buyout offer and resigned. As a result, millions of park goers could face closures, long lines, and dirtier parklands. They've also made plans to cancel leases for 34 National Park Service buildings, like visitor centers, law enforcement offices, and museums containing millions of artifacts. These actions follow the National Park Service's highest visitation year in history, with more than 331 million visits in 2024. But Trump officials wanted to keep that number quiet as they continue to make cuts to the most popular government agency. An overwhelming majority of voters support increasing or keeping funding the same for national parks and forest services. Even among MAGA Republicans, 69% are against reducing funding and oversight. But Trump doesn't care about that. He cares about funding huge tax cuts for the rich and corporations through budget cuts to government services.
So, are you ready to boycott? Are you ready to get out on the street with millions and millions of other people who are out there now over this? The only people who can stop this is you. All of humanity has to stand up. We elect these people. We fire them. And they're stupid. You elected stupid people. Everybody is so in this process of a cult that you actually believe Elon is a genius. Yeah, his mother gets all upset if you think of him as super rich. Yeah, she goes, that's bad, that's not good. You need to think of him as the most genius person on the planet and serve him. Serve him, because he needs to tell you what to do and how to do it. He is the planetary genius. And since there's no God and all that, he's the closest we got, according to his mom of all freaking people. And then we elect a person like J.D. Vance, who is one of the closest friends to Elon Musk. And what does J.D. do? What does J.D. do?
China condemned U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance as ignorant and impolite after he referred to Washington borrowing money from Chinese peasants. China's position on China-U.S. economic and trade relations has been made very clear, Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian said. It is surprising and sad to hear such ignorant and impolite words from this vice president, he added.
中方对中美经贸关系的立场已经讲得很清楚了。听到这位副总统说出这样无知又缺乏礼貌的话，令人诧异，也感到悲哀。
Speaking to Fox News on April 3rd, Vance defended those tariffs as an antidote to a globalist economy, which he said had not worked for ordinary Americans. We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture, J.D. Vance told Fox News.
That is the stupidest thing anybody could ever say. And yet, they back him up. And here we have all these veterans, which have been fired, right? Yeah. Veterans Administration, people working there have been fired. Yeah. Why? Because it would make less service toward the veteran. Why? Because Elon Musk doesn't like veterans, doesn't like military. Would never do that personally. If he doesn't do it personally, it shouldn't exist. That's the way he looks at it. That's the way Trump looks at it. If it's not wrapped in gold, it shouldn't exist. So Elon lets go of all these veterans, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And you think they haven't already got a problem?
And really what we can do for veterans going forward, there's still the issue of veteran suicides. And I want to put up on the screen the latest statistics. 6,146 veteran suicide deaths in 2020. That is 343 fewer than in 2019. But to Allison, when you look at that number, 6,146, it's an alarming number. And I wonder what your thoughts are and what we could do to continue to bring that.
Can you imagine? I wonder what your thoughts are. As though anybody cares.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to President Trump and Elon Musk's attacks on the safety nets that countless Western New Yorkers and people across the country have earned and need. Hardworking Americans rely on the promise of a secure and dignified retirement. That promise is called Social Security, and it's a solemn promise we must keep. Yet from Elon Musk accessing private beneficiary data to Trump's hand-picked acting commissioner declaring living recipients to be deceased in order to claw back their benefits, Social Security is under fire. And starting next week, a new rule will create further barriers requiring in-person identity verification for those who are unable to register online. This will hurt the most vulnerable people in our community. People with disabilities, limited income, inadequate access to technology or transportation, and our seniors who rely on phone-based support. At the same time, the administration is planning to close offices around the country, making it even harder for people to access these services. These reckless actions are robbing the hardworking men and women that I represent in Western New York. It's a slap in the face to every American citizen who has spent decades paying into the system, and every widow, person with a disability, and child who lost a parent too soon, who deserves and needs the benefits that allows them to survive. Social Security is not a giveaway. It's a fully funded program by the people who rely on it, by the sweat and hard-earned wages of American workers. Without Social Security, nearly 22 million Americans, many of them seniors on a fixed income or people with disabilities, will be plunged into poverty overnight. In my district alone, over 167,000 people rely on Social Security benefits to pay their bills, put food on the table, and afford their prescriptions. It has allowed seniors to stay in their homes, helped widows keep the lights on, and ensure that people who have worked their whole lives don't spend their final days scraping by.
That's what it is. That's how it is. Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, does it, Elon? He's not a rocket scientist, but he lies and says he is. He's not an engineer, but he lies and says he is. He's not the founder of Tesla. He lies and says he is. Trump has bankrupted every business he's ever established. Hotels, even casinos. How do you bankrupt a casino? He did it. Look how stupid Elon is.
The waste report in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements.
Now think about that. He thinks that people collecting unemployment is entitlement spending, and yet he is the most entitled person receiving entitlement spending. He is the number one highest paid person receiving entitlement spending in America.
So that's like the big one to eliminate. That's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $600-700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to.
So here now he's making this up. He's making it up. Yeah. And the guy sitting across the way, oh, you're right, oh genius one. You're so right. But he's not right. He's so wrong. And it didn't take much for people to figure it out. He tells people that there is millions and billions of dollars being lost every month to fraud in this area of people who claim to be 150 years old and they're collecting checks. 150 years old or older. It never happened. And we looked into it. Nope.
Come here, and then turning them into voters.
Yes.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing.
So here he's claiming the reason why they're destroying his cars, they're all Democrats. Yeah, they don't like Trump. They don't like him. So they are rioting and burning his cars. But does it have anything to do with the fact that they're mainly burning a particular car, a Cybertruck? A Cybertruck that is the worst built vehicle on Earth. And it's well known for that, well known for it.
If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave.
Can you imagine he said that? He said the only reason immigrants are here is because Democrats pay for them. But what is the truth? I mean, you got a brain? These supposed illegal immigrants are working for farmers. And all the restaurants that you go to in America, they're in there. They're cooking, they're cleaning, they're washing dishes. And all the nice fancy homes out there, they're in there. They're cleaning, washing, cooking. They're maintaining your yard. They're maintaining your car. These are these horrible illegal immigrants that you want to get rid of. So we do that. And what happens? Farmers go out of business. We're not hearing about the housewives who now have to clean their own wash or actually hire someone for a proper hourly wage where they could have gotten away with it. Elon Musk is one of the biggest people that pushes for immigration, certain type of immigration. Yeah, because he says, they're just not that kind of people over here. We don't have that level of technology in schools. So we need people from India. We need people from China. We need people from these places to work for Elon in his factories, making robots. Yeah. Designing batteries. Yeah. That's his mindset. His mindset is that he doesn't need you. He's making robots to take your place. He's building factories for robots, not for you, but for robots. That's his plan. He will not have anything to do with the employee. Yeah. If you're in a situation and there is a plague going on, he's not going to allow the government or medical officers to come in and say, you got to close this down, like what happened during the coronavirus. He was the number one person that said, no, I'm not closing down my factory. And he got a lot of people sick. He doesn't care. He won't allow unions in. He is the only car manufacturer in America that is not union-based. He won't do it. Everybody else is union-based. And that's not because of strong arming, pressure, anything other than it makes sense. Because we all do this. If you go from Ford to GM, VW, work throughout all these different companies, you're going to be in a union. Unless it's Tesla. He won't even allow dealerships. You can make too much money. He doesn't want that. Money is to come to him. He's the one who makes the money. Check this out.
Still receiving payments, but there was no evidence given that any of them were 150 years old. Now, crucially, there is an automatic system within the Social Security Administration. They started bringing this in a few years ago. When you reach 115 years old, it cuts off your payments.
What could Elon Musk and President Trump be referring to here?
So this is really interesting. Elon Musk posted a screenshot of a database over the weekend, and people have had a lot of fun trying to figure out what this database could be. Now, this database claims to show evidence of people over 150 years old receiving payments. Now, there are two theories. We spoke to some experts, and there are two theories that seem to be the most plausible. One is, it's possible, we don't know what databases DOGE actually has access to. So it's possible what he was looking at was a database of everyone who's ever been issued a social security number. So that wouldn't mean that they're receiving payments. It's just that they received a social security number and their death record was never put in. Another one, which is a little bit more wonky, but it also seems to be a little bit plausible, is that the Social Security Administration uses a very old programming code called COBOL. And essentially, there are a lot of people in the system who put in their information before any of these digital records. So their birth date isn't actually in the system. So if this old programming language doesn't have your birth date, it defaults your birth date to 1875, which would make you 150 years old this year. So that is one possible explanation.
So, stupid as shit. No genius here. None. We're talking stupid. Yeah, like Donald Trump and his tariffs. Yeah, the math used in that is that of a child. And the same thing with Elon Musk. He's no computer genius, let me tell you. He takes credit. He goes in and fires everybody. No decisions. None. Sends out a form letter. One direct letter to everybody the same. This person was not a good employee. Even though they're the best employee. Nope. From here on out, they're not. And for that reason, they're fired. Try and get a job after that. You're depressed, you're fired. But it's even worse. You can't use it as a reference. And what happens after they fire people? They not only fire people, they fire people in charge.
In the Social Security Administration, she left her position on Sunday after the disagreement. And it's also interesting. So this is reminiscent of the acting director of the Treasury, who also left over a conflict with DOGE and didn't want to give them access, and would rather be pushed out than stay in and grant that access. Also interesting here is who Trump appointed now to fill this role as acting director of Social Security. So bypassed dozens of other executive level individuals within this administration. Like if you're looking at the org chart, bypassed dozens of people to pick this person, Leland Dudek, who is apparently posted positive remarks on social media about DOGE's efforts to cut costs and search for fraud in federal agencies. So literally went through the list and looked at who had posted praise of DOGE, and that's the person that they plucked. And
you have to think about this. Just remember, how did Trump pick his cabinet? How did Trump choose who works around him? Loyalty. Media. What did they say in the media? Look at their phone. What do they say in their text, private text to friends and family? Are they for Trump or against Trump? If they're crazy, loony, totally out the window, they're hired. Yeah. You get Kennedy, nuttier than a fruitcake. Yeah. All these people, nuttier than a fruitcake. And they're in charge now of the FBI, CIA, nuclear, yeah, FFA. Yeah, I mean, come on. The health department? Yeah.
Efficiency Project posted on X, claiming that a Social Security database listed millions of people over the age of 100, including some between 150 and 159 years old. He even joked about vampires collecting Social Security. At first glance, that sounds pretty outrageous. But here's where things get interesting. You see, the numbers Musk cited don't match up with real-life data. The US Census recorded only around 80,000 people aged 100 or older. Meanwhile, Musk's claim suggests there are over 20 million centenarians in the Social Security system. That's more than the total population of Florida. So, what's actually going on here? Well, experts quickly pointed out a very simple explanation. It's not fraud, it's a coding issue. See, the Social Security Administration system runs on COBOL, an old programming language from the 1960s. And because COBOL doesn't handle dates well, sometimes when a birth date is missing or incomplete, the system just defaults to a placeholder. One of the most common placeholders? May 20th, 1875. That means in 2025, these entries show up as people being 150 years old. It's not that they're collecting benefits, it's just an outdated way of handling incomplete data. And here's another key fact that debunks this claim. Since 2015, the Social Security Administration has automatically stopped benefit payments for anyone listed as being over 115 years old. So, even if a database mistakenly lists someone as 150, it doesn't mean they're actually receiving money. The vast majority of these cases are just data artifacts, not evidence of fraud. But
Yep. So that's what Elon's doing, yeah. And then 46,000 recalls of the Cybertruck, and there's only 46,000 Cybertrucks. Why? Well, they're glued together. The panels, all these panels are glued on. Yep. So they have to take every single truck and bring them back. And they don't have the parts for this. They don't have the fix. And every one of them has to go back. These people waited 4 years to get their truck. When do you think they're going to see their trucks again once they pull them off? Well, I personally think the government will recall them off the market and that they're to be crushed. They're unsafe. They should not have been made. And now we're going to start working on laws, get around Elon Musk, who's firing everybody who checks safety and engineering qualifications of a vehicle before it ever hits the street. He skirted around all that and got away with it and got the truck out. Well, there are no countries outside the United States that will allow that truck on the road. Germany won't accept it. UK won't accept it. Even China won't accept it. Ireland won't accept it. Australia won't accept it. That really limits a multi-million car sale opportunity down to only tens of thousands, if that much. Why? Because they're too unsafe for humans. If you get hit by one of those, you're not going to do well. If you're inside of it, you're not going to do well. So I think it's going to go by the way of the electric car. When they were all picked up and taken to a crusher. I think that is the outcome of the Cybertruck. Interesting, huh? Yeah. You'll never hear Elon say that. But I do believe in America. I do believe in all of you. And that you have a conscious awareness of empathy and a clarity of mind to discern and discriminate. And realize that this is an engineering failure. And it should never have been built and should not be on the road. And it's a good chance this will affect all sales of all Teslas because the CEO does not care about the people who buy the cars. He's crazy. He's mentally ill. He's crazy. He's on ketamine. He's a drug addict. And it's affecting his judgment. He is completely wired as delusions of grandeur and a messiah complex. And he can't get out of it. He keeps taking the very drug that makes him that way, as though that's going to heal him from his anger issues, which makes him depressed because he doesn't like being angry. He doesn't want that. He wants people to think of him as a very happy, jovial, creative, funny guy. And he's none of that. So he's created a PR team and everything in order to create that scenario that you believe. But now you have to realize who he really is. He's mean. The money he receives to become the richest person in the world was done through corruption. He should not have that money. You know, he should be charged for the corruption that got him that money. And he should pay it back. It should go back into the system. They should pay the veterans for firing them. He should be sued by hundreds of thousands of people who were affected by DOGE because it was done so inefficiently. It was done so aggressively, so heartlessly, that it caused major harm to humanity. And there is laws against that. Big laws. Yeah, and he needs to be facing up to that. But right now, he's saying that this is all you Democrats out there, paid by Soros. You know, getting them to go out and burn up cars. It's a plot. All paid by another billionaire. Because he's so evil, he just thinks they all do that. Okay, so that's my teaching for today. Yeah. And there's not a lot of happy, things we can go on. But the key to this is that you have to understand he's creating hopelessness in hundreds of thousands of people by firing those people, by making Canada feel like they're bad people, and they're not. Making China feel like they're peasants and not worthy of having a relationship with the great America. We're okay, America. We're okay, but we're not great. We're okay. We happen to be the biggest continent. We happen to separate ourselves up into states, which makes us very economically high. It allows us a very high ratio of income because we have so many states, and taxes and income and all of that goes into what makes America. Everybody in America is hardworking. The immigration process that goes on has been going on a long time, and it goes on because of empathy. We want the food. We want the farming to continue. But farmers can't afford the technology and the advancements to get rid of the employees. They can't. They just don't have the money for that. Engineering's there, robotics is there, but they don't have the money. So they have to hire. And people in California and all around America, regular people, do not want to work at that wage out in the hot sun. Being treated like you're the lowest of the lows. So in comes immigrants who's willing to take that job and show up on time, do the job, keep the farmer going. You really don't hear much about the horrible immigrants that are out there working their ass off, providing a service to America that without them, we don't have America. They fulfill a big niche of employment that we simply won't do. Not a lot of regular people want to be maids. Not a lot of regular people want to get low pay when it comes down to gardening and working on a farm and all the things a dishwasher has to do, all the things a prep cook has to do, a servant that has to do in a restaurant, mopping floors and all of that. And Americans don't see themselves doing that. But they can see someone else doing it. And they are 9 out of 10 immigrants. Because they're willing to do it. With joy. And consistency. Good work. They're smart. They're capable. They're strong. They're everything that we need. And not as a slave or some kind of servitude. This is us. Yeah, we need the people to do the gardening. We need the people to do the cooking. We need the people to gather all the fruits and vegetables and maintain everything that is going on in America every day. And yet we're being given this false reality about our fellow human race, as though immigrants are illegal immigrants. So collect them all. So these people don't want to come back to America and take a chance. They don't want to stay in America and take a chance. Canadians don't even want to travel because they can end up in a Venezuela, in a concentration camp. Because that's who we are now. Because we have Elon and we have Trump and we have Nazis. They're not going to come right out and say it. But who backs Donald Trump? The KKK. Who backs that man?
Managed to piss off a lot of his crypto bro fans around this time as well, as he tweeted a meme where he broke up with Bitcoin and the coin fell by 50%. Could you imagine having your life savings in Bitcoin and losing massive value because some guy tweeted a meme? I think
in the Social Security Administration, she left her position on Sunday after the disagreement. And it's also interesting. So this is reminiscent of the acting director of the Treasury, who also left over a conflict with DOGE and didn't want to give them access. In the Social Security Administration, she left her position on Sunday after the disagreement. And it's also interesting. So this is reminiscent.
Sorry, got a little confused there. So, but that's the key, is better understanding the fact that they're putting out misinformation in order to get you to lose your hope, lose your faith, completely forget about God. It's nothing about that, nothing. God is a machine, and we are a cog in that machine. That's as close as we can get to God, is to work. And according to Elon, we better be willing to work long hours and get paid very little. Because there's a robot out there in the wings waiting for our job, according to Elon. That doesn't give you a lot of hope. According to Elon and Trump, if you join the military, there's nothing for you to come back to. So let's do a prayer. Well, one more thing. Just so you will remember. Who is Trump's biggest
One of the
supporter?
largest hate groups in the country is planning a victory parade for the president-elect. As Donald Trump prepares to move into the White House, the KKK is preparing a celebration parade in his honor. According to the Anti-Defamation League's website, the Loyal White Knights of Pelham, North Carolina is one of the most active Klan groups in the United States. This is not the first time President-elect Trump has garnered acclaim from white supremacists. Former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, who lost a Senate bid in Louisiana on Tuesday, has time and again showered the president-elect in praise and went on a gleeful Twitter spree after the election results came in. The Trump campaign did not immediately return a request for comment on the KKK group's parade plans. The president-elect's campaign later did some damage control and called Duke's endorsement repulsive.
But you've admitted that you have a ketamine prescription.
Yeah.
What's that for?
Well,
but you've admitted that you have a ketamine prescription.
Yeah.
What's that for?
Well, I mean, it's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription, you know. But I think it's something I'd say, like, there are times when I have sort of I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess, you know, is or like depression that's not linked to any negative views.
See, he's trying to swing that sucker as wide as he can, you know. Truth is that he is the most angry person you'll ever meet. And everybody knows this, you know. He really flips out and has no control. And to him, he has to be not who he really is. He has to figure out a way to get people to believe he's good. Yeah. And that he tells the truth. Yeah. And that he's beautiful. Yeah. And so he's the good, the true, and the beautiful. But he's not. He's a liar. He is a very bad person. And he does ugly things. Very ugly things. Money cannot buy you beauty. Not when you're ugly. Not when and I'm not talking hair or looks. I'm talking personality. Who you are. All right, so now let's go into meditation. Okay, so let's just relax, and we're going to play this puja, and as I go into it, I'm going to start oming, and when I om, let's all join together in that om. Yeah? But listen to the words. Yeah, this is a science of invocation, evocation. The name of this puja is A Soul I Walk on Earth. Yeah, you all have souls, but you have to fight for them. You can't be soulless and be soulful. You must develop soulful qualities and characteristics and virtues. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, is to incarnate your soul, to become truly soulful. Yeah, when you follow a cult like this, there's no soul. None, zero. That's the purpose of the cult. is the fact that you have no discernment and discrimination, and you're led into a very dark scenario, a cult, which takes away your soul. Yeah. So my thing is for you to get your soul. Strengthen your soul. Strengthen your characteristic. Strengthen your virtues. Attain higher being. Yeah. And save the world. Bring the world into the world that is destined by God. And not this hopeless process developed by Elon Musk and his antagonizing Hitlerian qualities and characteristics that have nothing to do with humanity and humaneness. Okay, so let's begin the process of listening to every word in the puja.
I am a messenger of light. I am a pilgrim on the way of love. I do not walk alone, but I know myself as one with all great souls, and one with them in service. Their strength is mine. This strength I claim. My strength is theirs, and this I freely give. A soul, I walk on earth. I represent the One. God moves the world. The past has gone. I am that past. It makes me what I am. The future comes. I also am the coming destiny and therefore I am that. The present flows from out the past. The future colors that which is. I make the future also by my present knowledge of the past and the beauty of the present, and therefore I am that I am. Without the radius of the world of glamour, I take my place, and there I stand. Before the open door that just reveals a different lighted way, I take my stand. Before the presence, I will take my place, and there will firmly stand. And stand I see. Love is the incentive of our aspiration on the path. Love is the substance of our living in the world. Love is the light and the light of freedom from all creatures. Love pulses through the universe in a divine rhythm. Love is the consciousness of God. May the holy ones whose disciple I am show me the light I seek. May all mankind, may all humanity of all knowledge, may all light on earth make manifest the soul in all things, all life. I invoke the radiant golden sun to manifest the thread of the soul into the kingdoms of the elementals, into the kingdoms of the vegetables, the animals, into the astral plane. I invoke all humanity to become the caretakers of the kingdom of God. I invoke the will of God as the soul. I stand before the judgment seat of my soul. I am that soul. All love and light am I serve the world and lose myself in service. This is my life, and this is the way that I will tread until the day be with us all. The family of humanity, to bring forth points of energy within themselves, inaugurating certain new techniques in work and in modes of communication. I invoke the group of telepathic communicators. I invoke the group of trained observers. I invoke the group of magnetic healers. I invoke the group of the educators of this new age. I invoke the group of political organizers. I invoke the group of the workers in the field of religion. I invoke the group of scientific servers. I invoke the group of psychologists. I invoke the group of financiers and economists. I invoke all creative workers as the new group. I invoke the externalization of the inner existing of conditions within these groups through the manifestation and the externalization of the avatar. Okay, just relax.
Gee. All right, so thank you all very much for attending this teaching. My job is as Buddha Maitreya and a truly enlightened being. I'm here to share. And my understanding and my consciousness and my view of things is what I share. I'm in this world with you. I'm a fellow human being. Yeah, we are dealing with what's happening. It's happening to us all at the same time. And I'm in the middle of it. And I am standing up against it. And we all have to do the same. We have to raise our consciousness to realize this is what's going on. If we stay emotional and in this controversial world, we're not going to see the truth. We're just going to get hit, and we're going to have delusions and illusions and assumptions take the place of reality and understanding. So let's just relax. Know that I'm here. This is the time of the appearance of Christ, and I am in my externalization process, and in doing so, I have to uncover the Antichrist who is amongst you. And it's not that hard. You just got to come to realize, that I'm not messing around. I'm telling you the truth, and I've got them wired into the system. So you can come up against these really bad people and do something about it. Yeah, just simply by watching my videos, attending my darshans, attending my weekend teachings, and receiving just once a day, if not many times a day, the teachings that I put out, which is to strengthen you, to awaken you, to make you heal from all this harm that's coming at you, and you may not be aware of it, that's where it's coming from. So let's just take a deep breath and regulate ourselves every day. Do the light therapy, listen to your pujas, have a good night's sleep, eat well, do all the things you need to do for your soul so that you're not hit by these creeps. Yeah. So let's stay strong, and thank you again for attending. Thank you.